Dear Bonbon, how is it going in Manhattan? Things are pretty much the same here as always. Boring, 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 and oh yeah, boring. I can't believe it's been a whole month already. I look forward to your letters every day. I'm always disappointed if the mail pony arrives and it's just bills and junk. Not that I want you to take time away from what you're doing if you're busy with important. I understand that it's hard to find time. Just don't forget your promise completely, okay? I can still stretch a letter out every few days, but after that my patience runs out, and I may just have to get on a train and come see you. And I don't think I won't. Just because I got on the wrong train and ended up in Trottingham doesn't mean I can't find my way to Manhattan. Hey, guess what? I got a sort of promotion at work, and in answer to the question you no doubt just asked, his piece of paper? Yes, really. Noteworthy is letting me tutor some pony. It's just basic one-on-one stuff. Nothing special, but it's a start. No, it's not the lyre, but singing is nearly as good. At least it just gets me away from the paperwork. Minute nearly had a seizure when she saw how I'd been filling the invoices when it was my turn. I can't see why she was so mad. It was still an honest mistake. Why should everything be filed alphabetically anyhow? I hope you're doing okay, and everything is going well. Right soon, like soon, okay? Lyra Heartstrings. Darling Lyra, since when do you sign letters to me with your full name? I am doing so well as every pony else. Relations with my mother and father are still strained, but I expected that. Not all bridges were rebuilt quickly, or especially soundly. Sometimes I get the feeling they'd rather I just went back to Ponyville already, but I'm not giving up this time. Nona Coquetilla says that to tell you hello from her, and she's sending her special grandmotherly hug with this letter. She's in the kitchen right now. I love her cooking. Remember how I used to tell you about her food? Well, now I can have it whenever I want. You better be eating properly, Lyra. I still don't trust you not to forget. Make sure you get something from each food group in every meal, and don't rely on takeout. That's all hydrogenated fat will clog up your arteries. I don't want the next letter to be from some doctor in Ponyville telling me that you're in the ICU for a heart attack. Don't have too much candy either. You don't do nearly as much exercise as you should to offset. Trust me, I know how candy and I know much about you. I am sorry if I sounded like an old nag. I just worry about you now, and I'm not around to tell you these things in person. I get anxious that you'll fall into bad habits. Remember that when you were like that before we met? Your house was a health hazard, and your bedclothes were gray instead of white, and you were eating cornflakes with a ladle because every other spoon was in the washing up bowl. I can't tidy the mess you leave around the house all the way from Manhattan, so you'll have to be more self-relented and not let it get that bad again, okay? Promise me you'll take care of yourself, Lyra, or I'll worry myself sick. I better go now. Nana says dinner's ready. Lots of love, Bonbon. Lyra pushed the envelope into the mailbox and nodded at the funk of it landing inside. Satisfied, it would soon be winging its way to destination. She trotted off down the street, ready to start off her day on a happy note. She always felt more positive when she got a letter or one sent back. She smiled as she opened the door to music makers and waved at the pony on the front desk. Hey, Minute! Minute fumbled with the paperwork she was holding. It slipped all over her desk, sheets swarming into the air like they were trying to escape but an open door. A pale blue glow grabbed hold before they could. The Minute's magic dragged each sheet of paper back into place and holstered down with a large paperclip. Only then she did look Lyra's way. Lyra, you're here, and early. I know, I was surprised too. Lyra ambled through the cloakroom, where every pony hung their outerwear in bad weather. The world lay under a thick white blanket outside, but the heaters in the little shop were on full blast, making it an oasis of heat and the sea of snow. She shucked her coat and jammed it on her peg. Still better too early than too late, huh? That's remarkably positive of you. Minimint peered through the cloakroom door. Suspiciously, she added, "You're very chipper this morning." "I am?" Lyra trilled. "I hadn't noticed. Is Bossy Pony in?" "Noteworthy," Minute correctly archly, "is upstairs in the office." "Oh, cool. Did you want him for something?" "Nothing in particular. I'm just teaching my first student today, and I want to make sure everything's all set." Minute consults with the sheaf of papers. "Your appointment is booked for noon." Lyra squeaked happily and danced in place. "I still can't believe I'm actually going to be teaching some pony." "Yes." Minute lowered her notes to peer at her. "Me neither, Lyra. Are you sure you're up to this?" "Silly filly. Why wouldn't it be?" Lyra pressed the tip of her hoof to Minute's nose. Boop! Minute didn't quite leap backwards, but it was close. "Don't do that." "What, this?" Lyra advanced. "Boop! Quit that!" Minute shoved her hoof away. She tried to look dignified, but Lyra's continued onslaught of booping made her telegraphy lift her paperwork and bat the hooves that wouldn't leave her alone. "Lyra, I don't like it." Lyra giggled and kept up her assault, at least until some pony behind her coughed. She immediately turned around, recognizing the cough. She also recognized the edge to it that said the cougher was trying very hard to keep from laughing. Sure enough, Noteworthy stood at the bottom of the staircase, one eyebrow raised. "Boss Pony." "Noteworthy." Minute stood in attention. "Good morning, Lyra." Noteworthy nodded at her. "You're early." She threw him a cheeky salute. "Do I get paid for the extra time I'm here?" "Nice try." "Aw, this is slave labor." "Noteworthy," Minute interrupted. "I saw that you were due a shipment of raisin today." He sighed. "Yep, but I'm due to be teaching when it arrives." Lyra too. "Could you deal with the delivery ponies?" "Of course." Minute swelled at the responsibility. Lyra shot her a sideways glance as she missed completely. "You can count on me." "Cool." Lacking horn, Noteworthy trotted to the filing cabinet and extracted the folder with his hooves. He kicked it shut behind him with one rear leg, deftly balancing for an open folder on the flat of an unturned flat forehoof. "So, Lyra, are you all set for your first tutoring gig?" "I am ever. I still can't believe you're letting me do this. I'm super stoked." Lyra grinned. "Then I guess you're not teaching until noon. You won't mind returning to the practice violins this morning?" Her face faded, the bright gusto of her mood temporarily dampening. "Aw, but Boss Pony, that's so boring." "Sorry, Lyra, but it's your turn. Here's the key to the cabinet." He held out the silver key and she accepted it sullenly. "Go on now." "You can be the real downer sometimes, Boss Pony," she muttered as she trotted off to the practice rooms. Minute had held her tongue while Lyra was still in earshot. Now, however, she was allowed more freedom. Concern laced her words as she whispered, "Are you sure it's okay to let her tutor, now of all times?" Noteworthy looked away from the door, which he had been staring fixedly since it shut. "I think it's the perfect time," he replied. Gone was the edge of the laughter from his voice. Gone, too, was a joyful gleam from his eyes. His shoulders slumped as if weighed down by a heavy invisible poncho. "It'll help her take her mind off things." "Doesn't that seem to be on them very much?" Realizing of how unkind it sounded, Minute hastily added, I mean, it seems like she's coping fine without introducing tutoring to her routine. You said you wanted to train her more before unleashing her on unsuspecting students." "Unleashing?" Noteworthy echoed. "That seems a bit harsh." "Or on any pony else, maybe. But this is Lyra. Remember what happened when she spoke at the School of the Music Appreciation Day?" Noteworthy's expression flickered like a television with a bad reception. For a moment Minute believed that she had made a dent in his resolve. She pressed her advantage. Miss Cheerily would have put Lyra in detention with those foals for teaching them those rude lyrics in the first place. Bad reception cleared. Minute's heart sank as Noteworthy shook his head. "Well, yes, that was then, and this is now. When I said she needed more training, she did. Now I think she's ready." "You don't sound very too convinced." He let out a sharp breath. "What do you want from me? This hasn't been easy on any of us. We're all walking on eggshells as it is. You saw her face. She's excited at the prospect of tutoring a student. She might be coping better because she has this to look forward to. Maybe. Minute sucked in air between her teeth. She stood more disapproving than overzealous pageant mother who discovered her daughter playing kissy face with a bad boy behind the bleachers. You're the boss. Yes. He closed his eyes in something slightly too long to be blank. I am. This is my store, and I'll let it run by the way I see fit, he growled. Noteworthy. Minute was shocked at his tone, as well as his words. He had never spoken to her like that before. She had been his first employee when he first opened his store. She has now seen it grow from a simple place that sold instruments into Ponyville's go-to establishment for lessons in any kind of music imaginable. Well, music makers had a reputation built on good decisions, good services, to get attention to good detail. The third of these was mostly down to Minutes and her legendary skills of organization and excellent timing. Never in all of her time had there been a Noteworthy ever sounded so mad at her. He hung his head. Sorry, Minnie. That came out wrong. I don't know what to do for the best. This seemed like a good idea at the time. Forcibly ignoring how her heart jittered when he said her, the only one she'd ever allowed for him to use, Minutes smiled reassuringly. I'm sure it'll be fine. You have good judgment. Pausing for only a moment, she added, I've always trusted it. Looking up, but not raising his head, he gave her a smile. Thanks, Minnie. That means a lot. He stood up and rolled his shoulders as if they ached. Sometimes I don't know what I'd do without you. You're welcome, she squeaked. And now I'd better get back upstairs and finish those order forms so you can give them to me for the delivery ponies when they arrive. See you later. Yes, later. See you later. See you later. Minute was so focused in watching him climb the stairs, she didn't hear the door to the practice rooms open. She did, however, hear the voice that sounded called through for the moment that the office door is closed. One of these days, Minnie, you're going to have to tell him about his crush thing. Lyra's giggles were only muffled by the door when the glowing blue folder crashed against it. My dearest Bonbon, I taught my first lesson today and it was cool. Do you remember Sweetie Belle, Rarity's little sister? She and her friends considered each of us potential candidates for dating Big Macintosh and Hearts and Hooves Day. At least until they figured out we were a couple. Well, she got her cutie mark earlier this month, and guess what? It's a musical note. Yep, we got another one. I'm cackling evilly right now, even though I know you can't hear it and look dumb when written down. Oh, what the hey? Ha 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 ha! Did you hear that all the way in Manhattan? I bet you did. You always said I have the loudest voice in all Equestria. I can remember that when it was a good thing. Like when you won that bake-off last summer. No pony in living memory has ever beaten Granny Smith's homemade apple pie before. But your triple fudge cake with popping candy icing was the greatest thing the judges had ever tasted. I yelled so loud you looked so directly at me, even though I was right at the back of the crowd. I can also remember when being really loud was a bad thing. Sweet Celestia, that romantic weekend to Horseshoe Bay, remember that? Your face was in when those Girl Scouts came running from their campout to see what all the yelling was about. Classic. I am so glad blushing isn't as obvious though as green fur as far as a cream. I miss you so much, Bonbon. Thinking about stuff like this makes me all nostalgic and I get this funny feeling in my stomach, like I want to puke, only I don't. I think it's because I want you here with me, and it kills me to know that I can't just wiggle my horn and make it happen. I know you'll have to be where you are. I understand, I really do. But that doesn't make it any easier. What am I doing, writing all this baloney? You only want to hear about the happy stuff. I was telling you about Sweetie Belle. Rarity is so proud of her. It almost makes me wish I had a little sister so I could dote on her and enroll her in singing lessons too. I wouldn't be so snooty when I first saw her tutor though. She asked Minute if Noteworthy was available to do it instead of me. Can you believe that? But Minute actually stood up for me. Yes, you heard that right. Minute stood up to Rarity for me. She said I was a brilliant tutor and music makers were so proud to have me. I think I may have fainted a little bit before Rarity brought Sweetie Belle over, though, to the practice room. Rarity wasn't pleased when I said she couldn't stay and watch the lesson either. Sweetie Belle said she didn't mind her big sister being hanging around, but I could tell the poor kid was nervous. I ousted her sis and told her to come back in an hour. I think hearing Minute talk smack to Rarity gave me the confidence to do it too. She looked so shocked when I closed the door. I actually felt a little sorry for her. I guess she wasn't being a pain in the rump for on purpose. She was just worried about some pony she cares about. I can relate. Sweetie Belle is an awesome little filly. We did the basic scales, and she was pitch perfect every time. Plus, talk about lungs. You think I'm loud when I really let it rip and sing? This kid would blow your ears out if she ever let it rip like that. And she's only a beginner. I foresee great things for her. I better end this letter here. The timer on my dinner just pinged. I'm having sauteed carrots and potato gratin tonight. See, I'm eating properly. Yesterday I even did laundry. And no, I didn't even put any whites in the color wash. You don't need to worry about me. I'm fine. I love you forever. Lyra. Darling Lyra, I just wanted to hear about your happy stuff and everything else besides. If it's happening to you, it's worth hearing about. It sounds like you enjoyed your first tutoring session. Yes, I remember Sweetie Belle. She and her friends used to come to my shop all the time. She loved to buy gobstoppers and toffees with her allowance. You'll have to make sure that she stops that now or she'll lose a tooth and ruin her singing career. Scootaloo never had such much money as the other two. I suspect they were all subbing her in some of her wares because she didn't have enough bits. So I always put that extra scoop in her bag as a reward. I know what kind of a business gives away stock like that. Apple Bloom used to tell me all the time that it would be a canny business decision for me to start selling candied apple pieces along with her candied orange peels. She even told me I would name them apple bloomers until her friends told her what bloomers really were. Rarity is a brilliant big sister. Did you hear what she did at the last Sister Hooves social? I couldn't believe it when Derpy told me. I sort of miss hearing her screech and go on to one of their drama queen routines. Rarity, that is, not Derpy. I don't think Derpy could screech even if she tried. I miss everything about Ponyville. Even the stuff I said was annoying or tiresome while I was there. Some things there haven't improved, so I guess I'll be staying for a while longer. Miss you too, Lyra. I miss you with all my heart, and I wish I could be there with you. I'd say I wish you could be here with me, but it sounds like that you're having much better time in Ponyville than I am having in Manhattan. Stay safe. Love you forever and a day. Bon Bon. Sweetie Belle rubbed her hooves together. This was stupid. She loved singing. Why was she so nervous? You okay there, kiddo? Yeah. This wasn't fair. She had longed for her cutie mark for so long. Now it felt like a brand on her flank, telling both her and the whole world that they better sit up and take notice. The pressure of the realization made her breathing quickened like she had been running, even though she had been sitting still since she arrived. You don't sound okay. Her singing tutor crouched down to look at her face, twisting her own so that it was practically upside down. Sweet Celestia, was the thought of even coming back to see me really so bad? Sweetie Belle shook her head. You could have fooled me. That's the face some pony on their way to the executioner. The what? Sweetie Belle blinked. Her tutor drew a line across her throat with one hoof and made a noise like a rusty zipper. Oh, no, that's really fine. I've been looking forward to our lesson, Miss Heartstrings. The tutor eyed at her for a second, then untwisted position and sat down on the floor with a heavy thump. Okay, first of all, it's Lyra. If you call me Miss Heartstrings, you'll make me sound like an old fart. Sweetie Belle blinked at her and paused. What? Second of all, Lyra went on, steamrolling over objections, let's get something straight. You, she pointed, are allowed to be nervous. Getting the cutie mark is the best thing that could possibly happen to a pony, and the worst, you go on from having the potential to doing to having every pony expect you to be good at your own thing, but Butt tells them you're good. That's a lot of pressure for any pony to handle. Sweetie Belle was startled at the mare's inclusiveness. How did I guess what was going on inside that head of yours? Lyra grinned. Kiddo, every pony thinks those things at first. You show me a pony who says they never worried about being good at their special talent, and I'll point and laugh and call them a liar. She paused. And I'll throw muffins at them until they admit it. Sweetie Belle continued to stare. Your sister didn't enroll you in lessons because she's worried you'll be bad at singing. Something inside Sweetie Belle taunted. She swallowed. Lyra narrowed her eyes at her. You do know that, kiddo, right? Is that the thing you know? Sweetie Belle dropped her gaze. Her flanks seemed to ache. Each zinging sensation curved the edge on a musical note. Rarity's so perfect at her special talent, she whispered. She's just as look as a piece of fabric, and she just knows how to make it into something beautiful. Every pony admires the clothes she makes, even ponies who didn't like the clothes to admire them. Her voice rose in pitch. And how am I supposed to compete with that? The only time I ever tried singing in public was with my friends. We botched up so badly we were a laughingstock. Lyra winced. The school talent show? Yeah, I heard about that. Wait, that wasn't a comedy act? No, Sweetie Belle cried. Lyra adopted a thoughtful expression. So what? Huh? Sweetie Belle sniffed and stared at her. So what? Lyra repeated. So you look foolish, so what? I look foolish all the time, and idiotic and dumb and stupid. That's part of life. Yeah, but at least you don't look so stupid when you play with your lyre. You don't look foolish when you were doing your special talent, Sweetie Belle said desperately. How do you know? Lyra tilted her head, inviting the challenge. Did you hear me play when I first started? Sweetie Belle stopped. No. She was focused to admit. So how do you know I wasn't awful to begin with? It's because you're special talent, that's how it works. Baloney, Lyra laughed. Something being your special talent doesn't mean you're immediately good at it. It means you have potential to be good at it and enjoy it. If we were all immensely good at things we love, well, what would be the point? How the heck could we enjoy the rest of our lives if we were already perfect at the thing we love the most? Do you like singing? Yeah, Sweetie Belle answered. Then who cares if you're good at it yet? But Rarity, First of all, kiddo, Lyra interrupted. She held a hoof up to stop Sweetie Belle's words. Never ever compare yourself with others, even those you love. She paused. Especially those you love. You're not them, and they're not you. The same rules don't apply to every pony. Do what you do, feel what you feel, and never think about being nervous or worried or whatever is a bad thing. It's what makes us strive to be better and gives us a reason to enjoy our special talents. It took a long moment, but eventually Sweetie Belle nodded. I guess so. Cool. Lyra sat back. So you're ready to warm up for those pipes? Yeah, I am. Brilliant. Lyra's grin could have equaled the sun intensely as she reached for the needle on the record player. How do you feel about show tunes? Minute watched Sweetie Belle skip around her sister as they walked down the street. The fillies seemed to have more energy after lesson than before them. She wondered how Rarity coped. With lots of freakouts, no doubt. The door to the practice room was ajar, since she was due to having the next student today. She decided to check it was neat and tidy enough for her exacting standards. She shuddered at the memory of Lyra's loose attitude and her filling system and dreaded to think what kind of stateroom would be in after one of her lessons. No sounds came from within. Had Lyra gone already? Minute frowned. Surely not. She would have seen her. Had Lyra sneaked away to get out of tidying up? The door creaked open with a tiny push. Inside, Lyra sat next to the record player. She stared at the needle, still suspended above the spinning record. She didn't turn around at the sound of Minute's hooves. Lyra? No response. Minute crossed the room. Lyra! Annoyance frosted over her tone. She didn't like to be ignored, so she reached out and turned the other mare to face her. Lyra blinked rapidly as if woken up from a trance. What? Minute clicked her tongue against her teeth. Honestly, daydreaming? At your age? I need you to clear the room, Lyra. My student arrives in 20 minutes and I need to get ready. Oh! Lyra shook her head as she was trying to clear it. Sorry, Minnie, I was a million miles away for a second. Minute flushed. Don't call me that. The corners of Lyra's mouth curled upwards as she looked more like herself again. She said slyly, "What, Minnie?" She pursed her lips and made kissing noises. That noise emerged from Minnie's throat could reasonably be called a squawk. Lyra laughed as she chased around the room and out the door. Ponyville Soul Supermarket was a tiny place with narrow aisles and tightly packed stock of every shelf. It was embodied by the phrases, less is more, less space to move around, but more items per square inch. Shopping for groceries was a hazard if you didn't have a cart as a combination shield and a battering ram. Lyra sucked in her belly to allow one such cart inch past her. It scraped her a few hairs, pulling them out by their roots. The mare pushing it didn't even say sorry as she stared fixedly at the chiller cabinets. Lyra allowed her to pop back out and could have sworn she heard each internal organ slurp back into place. "Sweet Celestia, rude much?" she muttered. She reached for the last microwave dinner on the opposite side of the aisles. As she did, another hoof closed in on the other end. "Aw, nuts. Hey, hoof's off. Hey, I saw it first." "You did?" Lyra blinked as she looked in the multicolored mane and tail before her. "Not Rainbow Dash? The heck? What are you doing here?" Pegasi rarely shopped at supermarkets. They went on meekly farmers markets, sure, but otherwise all their buying needs would be catered for their Cloudsdale stores. You couldn't just buy dew soup or other Pegasi delicacies in the ground-bound place after all. "Since when do you shop down here?" Rainbow Dash scowled like Lyra had just accused her of a mother having unlawful relations with a manticore. "I can shop wherever I want, and what I want a meal." Something bubbled inside Lyra. She didn't get angry very easily, but the silver irritation shot through her now. "Well, I saw it first." "Did not." "Rainbow Dash, what in the hell are you doing now?" A second pony appeared behind him as by magic. Though the shopping cart was awake, irritated faces, and Lyra told exactly how she had been able to get them so fast. She startled when she saw Lyra. "Miss Heartstrings?" "Hi, Applejack," Lyra chirped, not letting her grip on the meal. Rainbow Dash shook it, causing Lyra's foreleg to bounce up and down. Her voice vibrated in the time with motion. "How is it shaking?" Applejack shook in the stalemate. Quick as a striking the snake. She pried Rainbow Dash's hooves away. Lyra placed the meal triumphantly in her basket as she refrained from sticking her tongue out at the incensed Pegasus. But only just. "Applejack, what in the name of Celestia are you doing? You don't need that dinner. We don't even have a microwave on the farm." "Seriously, but how do you pop popcorn?" "The old-fashioned way, on the stove." Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes. "I'm living in the dark ages." Lyra's gaze flickered on between them curiously. "You two are living together now? Wow, and here I was thinking you had a good few months of denial left in you before you even acknowledged—" "Not like that," Applejack said hastily. "Rainbow here thought it was a mighty fine idea to purchase loop-de-loops blindfolded like Spitfire. She didn't get a count for geese." "That flock just came out of nowhere," Rainbow Dash muttered. "It was a sabotage. I was being punished for not picking a goose as my pet instead of a tank." "As I was saying," Applejack continued, "I saw her take a tumble. She fetched up one of the finest apple trees, knocked herself out, and I was just dangling there like a really big zap apple. The doctor said she ain't able to fly for a spell, so we all agreed we'd stay at Sweet Apple Acres until she's all healed up." "Healed up?" Lyra peered around and finally noticed a wave of bandages around Rainbow Dash's left wing. Rainbow Dash tilted her head back like a boxer, daring to open opponent to take a swing at her. "It's just a torn ligament. I'll be back in the sky in no time." "You'll be back into flying when the doctor says you are, missy," Applejack corrected her in the bossy tone similar so to make it the backs of Lyra's eyes prickle. She could just imagine Applejack telling Rainbow Dash to eat something from each food group for every meal and remember to take out the garbage. "Until then, you're grounded, and I'm gonna make sure you stay grounded. And don't take any more stupid risks in the name of proving how awesome like Spitfire you are, or how stupid you are. And I ain't sure which yet." "How can you be my age and sound like an old hag?" Rainbow Dash snapped. "Did you ever have your sense of fan surgically removed or something?" Applejack ignored her. Lyra, you okay, Sugar Cube?" I'm fine, Lyra sniffed. I'm just really happy I got the last microwave dinner, and I'm actually beat Rainbow Dash at something. Why, you little... Lyra danced out of reach, giggling wildly. She brandished her wire basket above her head like a trophy, and continued down the aisle backwards, right up until she crashed into the shopping cart coming the other way. She yelped as she fell in, and leaned back to meet the upside-down gaze of its owner. Hi, Barry. Lyra! Barry Punch raised a hoof over her mouth in alarm. Why are you sitting on my groceries? Hi, Lyra. Barry Punch threw her up her hooves. In the light of the anticipated body cart, she was strapped onto the actual plastic seat, whereas Lyra's cutie mark was making friends with a sack of potatoes, and a bag of carrots, and a very cold packet of frozen peas. Want to make sure the cart goes fast, Lyra? I keep trying, but my magic isn't good enough yet. But your magic can make it go super duper fast. No can do, kiddo. The security ponies in this town frowns on ponies on making carts go faster than a frantic rabbit. Lyra hefted herself off the groceries and blew her mane from her eyes. Yeah, sorry about that, Barry. Oh, it's okay, Barry Punch replied, though her expression belied her words. Lyra glanced over her shoulder. Applejack was fussing over Rainbow Dash, trying to make her stop flaring her wings because she was mad. Lyra felt a little guilty for that. She didn't want Rainbow Dash to do herself any permanent damage, but she had needed an excuse to get away from them. That had been too close for her comfort. Well, I guess I better be moseying along. See you around, Barry. She made her way as fast as she could to the checkout, paid for her solitary item, and left the store at the brisk trot. What the heck are you doing picking fights with her? Anger curled around Applejack's words like a choking ivy. Don't you get any sensitivity? She started it, Rainbow Dash began. Don't try that with me, Rainbow. You know as well as I do on why you shouldn't be picking fights with her, out of all ponies. What? That was Lyra Heartstrings. I know, Rainbow Dash continued to blink uncomprehendingly at her. Why don't you even tell her about my accident? Anyhow, she's not any pony special. Not any pony? I can't believe you just said that. Don't you remember? Remember what? So help me, Rainbow. If you don't start using your brain, I'm gonna beat you with this jar here of artichokes until you do. What? Hey, whoa, steady on. Rainbow Dash raised her hooves. I don't understand why you're getting so worked up over. It's not like you and she are the best buds or anything. I may not be close to her, but as I am to my friends, Applejack admitted, anger still tightening in her words like a noose. But that doesn't mean I'm insensitive to what she's gone through. What she's gone through? The realization dawned on Rainbow Dash's eyes. Immediately a blush appeared on her cheeks. That raised the ambient temperature of the supermarket by several degrees. Oh my gosh, Lyra Heartstrings. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. She gabbled alarm, blurring her words. I didn't realize. Oh my gosh, I was... And she's... And her... Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Yeah, Applejack agreed. Couldn't have put it better myself. My dearest Bonbon. Hi, I just realized I never start these letters the way I actually talk to you. Hi, sweetie, how was your day? Today wasn't so great for me. I got a little upset in the supermarket and came home without even half the stuff I went in for. I didn't want to go back and having to go again tomorrow, and you know how I feel about grocery shopping. I reckon Tartarus is actually just an infinite replica of Ponyville's EZ shop. I saw Sweetie Belle in her second lesson today. The poor filly was a bag of nerves, but I managed to get her to loosen up by the end. Her third lesson is booked for next Thursday, so I'll let you know how that goes. I wrote myself a note about the toffees so I would remember to tell her, but I think she's not that much danger of getting any in the meantime. No pony has taken over running over your shop yet. I went past there on my way home from the supermarket. All the candy jars are still on the shelves, waiting for you to come back and serve them. I laughed at that you wrote about giving Sweetie Belle and her friends extra scoops. That actually sounds like something you do. Remember when we talked about having a foal? I'm still not sold on the whole magical pregnancy thing. Scootaloo lives with foster parents, and I reckon we'd better off be doing something like that before we commit to a filly or colt of our own. Who knows, maybe adoption would be a better route for us. I'd better stop. The paper looks all blurry. I bet my blood sugar's low. I'm having cheesy mashed potatoes time tonight. You'd be proud of me eating all this luxury food, and I'm making it all by myself. I swear I'm using that cookbook you left behind. I haven't ordered one pizza since you left. I swear, just as good, wholesome, homemade grub from me from now on. Love you forever and 2 days. Lyra. Darling Lyra, the only reason I don't want an adoption is because I want our foal to be a part of us. I love the idea of carrying a life inside me, even more if that life is something you helped me make. I'm not totally against adoption. How about for our foal's brothers and sisters we adopt? I'd love a big family. I don't want our foal to be alone and lonely. I always wanted brothers or sisters when I was growing up. It would have given me some pony to talk to on the bad boys. I saw on the stains at the end of your last letter. Don't cry, darling. Nana is asleep in the next room, and if she hears me bawling, she'll have one of her funny turns. She hadn't had another since that one that brought me out here, which I'm grateful for. I don't want that to be the cause of a second, but if I think about how sad you are, I can't help but cry too. The only reason I'm not crying my eyes out right now is because I'm thinking of our foal and what he or she might look like. Picturing him or her in my head is a great leveler. It makes me so happy to think that instead. I miss you so much, Lyra, but please, please, please don't be sad. Love you forever in 3 days. Bon Bon. Hi, Lyra. Lyra turned around to see a small white filly running towards her. Sweetie Belle, hi there, kiddo. What's shaking? Nothing much. Winter vacation is more boring than I expected. Sweetie Belle pulled a face. Scootaloo's family have gone to visit some cousin in Cloudsdale. Apple Bloom's helping to keep Rainbow Dash occupied in Rarity. She scrunched up her face. She has an important order to fill and doesn't want me under her hooves. Can I hang out with you? Lyra blinked in surprise. Sure, I just got off work, so I don't need any place special. She thought of the supermarket and dismissed it immediately. Were you posting a letter? Sweetie Belle craned her neck, as if this would help her see inside the mailbox. Yep, just in time too. Lyra pointed at a descending gray and blue dot in the sky. Derpy waved at them from the side, but performed an admirably competent touchdown. And as much as she didn't crash into them, the mailbox on the ground. Perfect landing, she declared, her nasally voice glowing with pride. Oh, hi, Lyra. Hi, Sweetie Belle. Yo, Lyra waved. Sweetie Belle giggled. Good afternoon, Miss Hooves. You're running a little late today, aren't you, Derpy? Said Lyra. I didn't think I'd catch you. Dinky is sick, so I had to wait for a babysitter, since I didn't want to leave her alone. Derpy took out a sack ebonized with the Equestrian Royal Mail emblem. She used a key strung around her neck to open the front of the mailbox, and she scooped up the tumble of letters and parcels that fell out. Oh no, Sweetie Belle exclaimed, as if this generally was the worst news she received. Is Dinky going to be okay? It's just a touch of flu, Derpy replied, obviously cheered by the interest. It's really more annoying than anything else. She wants to go out and play with her friends, but you can't never be too careful with these things. I worry endlessly about her. And I have to remind myself sometimes that every filly and colt needs to have a few scraped knees to teach them their limits for the future. Yeah, Lyra said tightly. You can never be careful of making sure those you love are safe and well. Sensing the sudden shift in mood, Derpy looked up with a frown. Are you okay, Lyra? I'm fine, Lyra said in the same tone. Just peachy. She walked off swiftly, away, not checking for any remembering that she had a sidekick at the moment. Bye, Miss Hooves. Tell Dinky I hope she feels better soon. Sweetie Belle called over her shoulder. I will, thank you, Derpy replied as she took off, weaving even more wildly under the weight of the full mail sack. Miss Cake smiled at everyone who entered Sugar Cube Corner. She always made it a policy to be cheerful to the customers, even before Pinkie Pie arrived in Ponyville. After an irrepressible pink pony came to work for them, had been difficult not to smile. Pinkie just excluded the aurora of joy that affected everyone and everything around her. Half the time Miss Cake reckoned the ponies came to eat and drink in their little cafe, not because it was the best in town, but because they wanted something more than just food and drink. They wanted a slice of happiness with their sweets, and Pinkie was more than happy to serve it to them. So when Lyra Heartstrings walked in looking angry, Miss Cake's first reaction was to summon Pinkie Pie and let her deal with the situation. Pinky, however, was an elbow deep of muffin mix and wouldn't be able to work for the cash register until she was done. Mr. Cake had taken Pound and Pumpkin to the playground, which left his wife alone at the counter, and Lyra stalked towards it. Fortunately, somebody else skipped ahead of her. "Hi, Miss Cake." "Sweetie Belle." Miss Cake liked the polite young filly and appreciated the smiling buffer between herself and Lyra's frown. "What can I get you today?" "I'll have a chocolate milkshake with whipped cream topping, please." Sweetie Belle placed 2 shiny bits on the counter. "Lyra, would you like something?" Lyra blinked at her uncomprehendingly for a moment. Then her expression cleared. "Whoa there, kiddo. This is my treat," she said, sliding 2 bits back into Sweetie Belle's hooves. "What did she order, Miss Cake?" Miss Cake tried not to acknowledge that Lyra had been standing only inches away and totally missed what Sweetie Belle had said. "Chocolate milkshake with whipped cream topping, dear." "Can I get that in mint?" Lyra eyed the menu on the chalkboard. "Hey, you got strawberry sponge cake as today's special. That sounds good. I'll have a slice of that, please. And Sweetie Belle will have..." Lyra gestured for her to finish the sentence herself. "Do you have any muffins today?" Sweetie Belle asked in a near whisper, as if she didn't want any pony to overhear what she said. "Pinky's just making a batch, dear." "What kind?" 3 different kinds. Triple chocolate, blueberry, and raspberry. If you like to wait a little while, you can have one fresh from the oven." "Can we, Lyra?" Sweetie Belle looked up at her. She actually needed her permission. Miss Cake would never remember seeing these 2 together before. She wondered at the story behind this outing. Was Sweetie Belle once again trying to find a temporary replacement big sister? If so, she could have chosen better. "No, that's crass," Miss Cake justified herself. "What cruel thought. Lyra has always been a cheerful pony. It's not her fault things have been difficult lately. Sweetie Belle may have been good for her." Lyra scratched the back of her head. Sure, fine with me. You 2 just find yourself a table and I'll bring your milkshakes over," Miss Cake promised. Sweetie Belle skipped away. Lyra trundled after her, looking mildly bewildered. Miss Cake watched them aside into a booth, wondering again how these 2 unconnected ponies were sitting in their cafe, and why she had such a sense of relief that they were no longer at the counter. "Rarity says that she's real proud of me for practicing my skills like you showed me," Sweetie Belle said breezily. "She's around my age when she got her cutie mark too, only she got dragged 20 miles outside of Ponyville by her magic when hers appeared." She peered up at Lyra, interesting buzzing behind her eyes. "What was it like when you got your cutie mark, Lyra?" Lyra shook off the last of her days. She hated when that happened. She lost track of time and place for a while, though all by the accounts she functioned perfectly well as she was zoned out. Once she had come back to herself at the front desk of the music makers, holding an empty can of baked beans. With no idea where the consonants had gone, she hated baked beans. They always gave her gas. Thankfully, this time all she had done was wandered into Sugar Cube Corner. After Sweet Celestia, had she made it to the mailbox in time? An image of Derpy shaking out a mailbag popped into her head. Lyra breathed a smile of relief. She had been too late. "Lyra?" She refocused on Sweetie Belle. "Huh? How much did you get your cutie mark?" "My cutie mark?" Lyra paused and grinned. "Now here's a story. See, in high school, we sometimes had our guest teachers who come in and taught us a special one-off lessons. We had astronomers from the Canterlot Observatory who came to teach science, Royal Guards drill sergeants who ran boot camp and PE lessons, musicians from orchestras and bands who taught us music, stuff like that." "Wow, really?" Sweetie Belle seemed honestly impressed. "Cool." Lyra spread her forelegs, playing to her audience. "One day in my final year, this string quartet came to my music class. Those things usually have 2 violins, a viola and a cello, but this one has substituted for 1 violinist for a lyrist on the account of violinist fell down the stairs and fractured her plain hoof, and she was in bad luck for her, but it changed my life. I was about so hypnotized where they had played for us. I never heard anything like that. I ever even listened to the boring takes fake talking part started." She twisted up her face with an unpleasant memory. "I wasn't the greatest student in school." Sweetie Belle's grimace matched Lyra's perfectly. "Me either, but my dad says it happened even to the best of ponies, and that's when was in school. It took him 3 years to learn all 12 multiplication tables." Lyra blinked at her. For some reason she had thought Sweetie Belle's only family was her sister. The news was that both she and Rarity did. In fact, they have at least one father was surprising. So why was Rarity and the one to arrange Sweetie Belle's singing lessons? She wondered. Lyra shook off the question and carried on. The Quartet's ponies told us all about what it was like playing on the Hoofington Calvas store, but at lunch that day, I was running from the bullies that hid in the music room. You might find this hard to believe, kiddo, but I haven't always been the coolest pony of history ever. In fact, I wasn't exactly high on the pecking order at all back then. Were you bullied? Sweetie Belle's face became much a heartfelt mask of sympathy that actually stopped Lyra in her tracks. There was something in the filly's eyes that shot right for her own heart, sending sparks of responded sympathy through her veins in recognition. Sweetie Belle knew that it was what it was like to be picked on. Yes, I guess so. I ducked into the music room, thinking I squashed myself under the teacher's desk. After the fillies and the colts that were chasing me had gone past, I came out and realized that the lyrist had left her instrument on a stool ready to play for the next class. I picked it up and pulled the strings because, well, I guess I wanted to know what it felt like to be that pretty pony. The sound had made it lawful, but it felt so good that I wanted to keep playing it anyhow. Like if I kept playing, all my troubles would just get washed away by the music. Lyra trailed off. Moments later, she shook her head, realizing she was about to zone out again. And then poof, I had my cutie mark. High school? Sweetie Belle gaped. You were a teenager before you got your cutie mark? I was nearly graduated by the time I figured out my special talent, Lyra corrected, smiling as if it didn't bother her. It used to, but not anymore. She had always felt like this was a little behind every pony else, missing out on things that only hair's breadth. But a day late and a bit short, and they said that at the end of the day she met Bon Bon. You should count yourself lucky you got yours in grade school, so you have a chance to hone your skills all before the complicated stuff happens. Complicated stuff? Lyra wanted to pat Sweetie Belle on the head. High school was awful for those who didn't fit in, but she suspected Sweetie Belle was destined to be one of the pretty fillies who fought that didn't rule the place, weren't picked on like those on the lower class social strat. Certainly, she would have no shortage of male admirers willing to defend her if she turned out anything like her sister. Never mind that, no point on making you worry before you have to. You should enjoy being a kid for a while. I'm not a kid. Though, Sweetie Belle protested. A pout trembled at the corners of her mouth. At the moment, Miss Cake arrived with 2 frothy glasses of tea trolley. She set the green in front of Lyra and the brown by Sweetie Belle. Scoops of ice cream floated in the liquid beneath the mounds of whipped cream. I put a little extra for you girls, Miss Cake explained, passing each along a spoon. The muffins should be ready in a while. Thanks, Miss Cake. Pout forgotten. Sweetie Belle dug in her spoon through the whipped cream and ate like a mouthful as she closed her eyes in rapture. You always make the best ice cream. Actually, we buy it from the cow settlement just outside of town. They make it themselves from their own milk, sweetened with honey from the hives they keep. Oh, scrumptious! Sweetie Belle shoved another mouthful. Miss Cake laughed. I'll let Morlilla know next time I see her, and that has your stamp of approval. Lyra waited for the kindly mare to leave before picking up her own spoon. There was a time where she have plot her treat into some same gusto as the filly beside her. She hesitated, spoon raised. A husky alto echoed through her mind, warning her to take things slow or she would get... Gah! Sweetie Belle dropped her spoon and pressed a hoof on one eye. Brain freeze, Lyra finished the thought out loud. Don't you know you can't eat ice cream too fast or that will happen? Sweetie Belle whimpered. Lyra reached out with her telekinesis and whipped a mug of hot chocolate off the tea trolley. Miss Cake had made noise like she had been stuck with a pin as it zipped past her head, alighted on her table. Sorry, Miss Cake, Lyra called out. Ice cream headache emergency. I'll pay for this one and the new one for whoever ordered it. Using telekinesis to blow steam off the hot liquid, she told Sweetie Belle, Sip this, don't gulp it or it'll burn your tongue. And if you have brain freeze and a burnt tongue simultaneously, well, I don't know what for sure will happen, but it's entirely possible that the two will interact with your head and explode. What? Sweetie Belle squeaked in horror. That can happen? No, Lyra snickled. But Sip is slow anyhow. Sweetie Belle did so, eyes watering. Eventually she stopped looking like she was about to cry, and Lyra released her magic. The mug rested snugly on the filly's tiny hooves, over half its contents gone. Better? Sweetie Belle nodded mutely. Lyra leaned back and attended to her own milkshake. She licked off the melting whipped cream and poked experimentally on the mint ice cream. Watching the lump bump up and down, it reminded her of the bayou and the rough seas. She and Bonbon had planned to go on the coast in the summer to visit Lyra's relatives on the offshore lands. Lyra hadn't seen any of her great aunts or uncles since she was a foal, and she had been looking forward to seeing them again. Thanks, Sweetie Belle croaked. For what? Stealing some pony's drink? Lyra snorted. She poked again at her own, taking great delight in by the way that some slopped over the table. Minty drips raced down with each other on the outside of the glass. Say, Sweetie Belle, that made you want to spend your day with me? Of all ponies, huh? Surely you have more than just your friends you can hang out with. At once Sweetie Belle dropped her gaze. Lyra heard that husky voice in her head again, reprimanding her for being so insensitive. She always remembered being the loner of the school, the pony whose jokes went just as a bit longer, and whose laughter was always tiny a bit shriller than the audience's. Don't go there, Lyra, she said in her voice. You're not happy with that pony anymore. You grow up. Aw, pony feathers. Kiddo, I'm so... No, it's okay, Sweetie Belle interrupted. I just saw you there on the street and I thought about how much fun we had during our lesson and, I just thought it would be cool to spend some time with you. Lyra caught the moment from herself from saying something. Then a feeling went up her spine, not a shiver but of something else, like the tip of a hoof running over each vibrata, without actually touching them. She shuddered and rolled her neck. Aw, nuts bunnies. I'm a charity case to a freaking filly? Another thought that occurred to her. Ponies could get an entirely wrong idea from this situation. Do you want me to leave you alone? Sweetie Belle asked hesitantly. No, it's fine. I was just curious, that's all. Your sister doesn't seem to like me much, so I wonder what if she approved of you hanging out with me. She swallowed. Plus, Sweetie Belle, I'm an adult and you're a foal, and you should be hanging out with fillies and colts your own age. No, that's not why she doesn't like you, Sweetie Belle said bitefully. She thinks that you're really brave, actually, but she says she's not sure what to say to you, and she's worried all the way from the Carousel Boutique of music makers, and that she was going to put her hoof and say something. She caught Lyra's eye. Her words faltered. Something wrong? Brave? Lyra echoed in surprise. Me? Your sister has Battle Nightmare Moon, Discord King Sombra, and a pack of diamond dogs. I heard once she kicked a manticore in the face. She thinks I'm brave? Discomfort slowly clearly in Sweetie Belle's expression. That's what she said to me, only I was supposed to tell you, she added in a whisper. Why not? That's a real compliment coming from her. Sweet Celestia, she thinks I'm brave? How weird is... A blur of pink appeared at the end of their table. Whoa! Sweetie Belle squeaked in alarm. Lyra fell sideways, sprawled across the booth. There were a few ways to look cool when Pinkie Pie was whimsical mood. Judging by her face right now, she had whimsily drawn, cocked and ready to shoot. Hi guys, Pinkie Pie warbled. I hear you two are in the market for some scrummy, nummy, yummy, fleshly baked muffins. Sweetie Belle wiped the chocolate milk from her face and chest. We sure are. Hi, Pinkie. Oh, Sweetie Belle. Pinkie swept her into a bone-crushing hug, pulling her right out of the booth and then plopping her back again. With Lyra? What are you doing here? Trying not to pass out from shock, Lyra tried to pull herself from the sitting position. Don't do that. Do what? Jumping out and scaring ponies like that. It's dangerous. No, it's not, Pinkie laughed. It's fun. Pinkie rose into her hind legs and gave her a spin in place, as if some nowhere had produced two plates, each piled high with baked muffins. Before either Lyra or Sweetie Belle could say anything, she hopped up and down, revealing one of her hind legs behind her, also carrying a plate of muffins. In a truly acrobatic move, Pinkie did say this place was into a table, and had turned to a present, like the first two, like a medieval pony representing an offering to Princess Celestia. Triple chocolate, Pinky announced, nodding at the third plate. She held out a plate with her right hoof and then one on her left hoof. Blueberry, raspberry, take your pick, girls. These are on the house. Really? Sweetie Belle's eyes shone. Lyra's suspicious. Why? Why not? It's a beautiful day and the birds are singing. The sun is shining and I'm feeling generous. Does Miss Cake know you're being this generous? She should. It was her idea. Lyra's face darkened. She glanced at the door to the kitchen where Miss Cake was just ducking out of view. Given that she had trusted Pinky with her children, much less waitressing in her cafe, Lyra knew it wasn't Pinky's competence she had been watching. She got her to her hooves and squeezed her way out of the booth. Lyra? Sweetie Belle tried to follow, bouncing her little butt along the squeaky plastic back of the booth. She looked painfully at the plates of muffins and her chocolate milkshake. You left your... Hey, wait, where are you going? Lyra stalked out, deaf to the little filly's cries. Sweetie Belle's lip quivered. Did I do something wrong? Pinky deposited the 2 remaining muffins on the table and wrapped a foreleg around her. It's nothing you did. Lyra's just has a lot on her mind right now. I know, that's why I offered to spend the day with her. Sweetie Belle fought back to the lonely figure at the mailbox, poised at her hoof like a raised statue for several long seconds before she had approached. At first she had thought Lyra was asleep, but that had not been the case. Sweetie Belle remembered overhearing Rarity talking to Twilight over tea about how Lyra was being so brave and about the ruckus last month that made every pony start acting weird around her. Sweetie Belle had actually been a little fearful when Rarity told her she had enrolled her in a tutoring program with music makers. Yet Lyra had proven to be so fun and entertaining to be around, and it was just almost worth missing the time at the clubhouse with Applebloom and Scootaloo. At least until now. Sweetie Belle's head dropped. Maybe she just doesn't want to spend time with the silly little filly. Pinky hugged her tight. Now, that is really a silly thing to say. You're awesome, Sweetie Belle. The awesomest, awesomely awesome filly who's ever awesomed. Sweetie Belle giggled softly. It was hard to stay sad when Pinky was around. Nevertheless, she cared for her craned her neck to look at the big window in front of Sugar Cube Corner, watch slowly shrinking figure already halfway down the street. My dearest Bonbon, I did an awful thing today. You would have been ashamed of me. Seriously, you'd want to pop me in the nose if you were a violent mare, which you aren't. Which I guess is good for me because, heck, I wanted to pop me in the nose today. I was sharing milkshakes with Sweetie Belle at Sugar Cube Corner when I zoned out and I just left her there. I just walked out and I didn't mean to. I don't really remember doing it. I want to apologize, but I'm scared Rarity will rip me a new one for hurting her little sister's feelings. I just got so mad all of a sudden that I couldn't think properly. Next thing I knew, I was at home here on my desk in the study, ready to start this letter. That means I zoned out twice today, maybe even 3 times. It scares me a little, losing touch with reality like that. But what can I do? I can't help when I get mad or sad or whatever. I don't even know what causes them. I just have to hope that I don't zone out while I'm in the middle of a tutoring session or something. I already forgot to do the supermarket again today, so I didn't have much food in the house. For dinner, I'm stuck with a package of dried rice I have found in the back of the cupboard. I think you bought it last winter when we were worried we'd get snowed in, and you stocked the whole kitchen with cans and freeze-dried food. Sweetie Belle asked me on how I got my cutie mark, and I told her. But while I was telling her, I was actually thinking about the story you told me of how you got yours. There aren't any pony lyrists in my family, so I didn't know what it was like to have the same cutie mark as a relative. You and your Nana are very lucky to have someone special like that. I hope your mom finally realizes how lucky she is to have a daughter like you and a mom like her before it's too late. All my love, Lyra. My darling Lyra. When you first told me you were zoning out, I thought it was from the stress from us being apart. You looked so sad when you waved me off at the station. When you centered all the way to the end of the platform, I thought you were going to fall off the tracks. Now, I'm more worried about you than ever. I think you should see a doctor, sweetheart. Nana agrees with me. This isn't normal. You need to take care of it before it gets worse. Personally, I think having a rare cutie mark like yours is tremendous. Wasn't it your cutie mark that got me talking to you when I first arrived in Ponyville? Wow, how can you believe it was 6 years ago now? When I took a look at the first aid course for an extra credit in high school, I thought it would be useful, but I never thought it would bring me to the very special Sun Pony. I was hugging you with the helmet before, But even though I knew your name, it probably says a lot about us that the first exchange we ever had was being curious about your butt and you choking on your own gum. I am shaking my head and smiling right now. This is something you need to know. Go to the doctor, Lyra. Get yourself checked out. Apologize to Sweetie Belle if you feel bad about what happened. It may not seem so much to some pony else, but you have a soft heart under all that bravado. You know it will bother you if you don't. Rarity is generous enough to let you say your piece without kicking you out. You know I will always love you. Bon Bon. Rarity was so shocked not to see a customer as she expected, but appended Lyra on the doorstep. Is Sweetie Belle around? Rarity's spine stiffened. No, as it happens. Can I help you? The question came out icy. Lyra shrank back, to which surprised Rarity. Lyra had never been with any pony to shrink down from a few harsh words, as Rarity recalled. More than once, she had slung even harsher words at the back of ponies who had insulted her or, Rarity, can I get you dead down yet? She looked over her shoulder. Soon, Fluttershy. I'm almost done. Fluttershy stood on her hind legs, 4 legs outstretched, her whole body wreathed in jittering jewels and gossamer fabrics. This outfit looks really beautiful already. Sapphire Shores does not need simply beautiful. She does require stage costumes that are outstanding, dazzling, stupendous, and even divine. And she needs 6 more of them, so I'm afraid I require your modeling services for a little while longer, darling. Lyra flinched at the word darling. Can I help? I mean, if Flutters has had enough, I could take her place for a little while. Each segment of her sentence curled upwards, after she suspected she was supposed to be tossed out on her own rear at any moment. Oh, would you? Fluttershy broke into a smile that brightened the room as the jewels. That would be really helpful. I do need to get home and feed my animals. I'm already late, but I didn't like to say. Fluttershy, you should have told me, Rarity exclaimed. You must go and tend to the poor and dear animals immediately. But this outfit can wait. I won't be able to concentrate when I know the mandarin of yours is starving, so that I can sue this for the extra few diamonds. Go, 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 and go. Fluttershy carefully stripped off the dress and draped it around the hanger Rarity levitated in front of her. She stepped down from the raised platform and almost galloped for the open door. Thanks again, Lyra. I really appreciate this. No problem, Lyra replied uncertainly. When Fluttershy had gone, she looked at the platform, the dress, and then Rarity herself. So, what do you need me to do? Just here, right there. Now hold absolutely still or I may accidentally stick you. Sweetie Belle could hardly believe it when she came home to find Lyra in the middle of the carousel boutique, dressed in the showiest catsuit that she had ever laid her eyes on. Rarity's flair showed in perfect every sparkling inch, including the ones that hung over Lyra's ends of her hooves. Sapphire Shores, harsh longer legs down most ponyish, furrow her body shape till she'll slender. Rarity muttered through a mouthful of pens. I really need a model with long legs to taste and the whiffs and give these shelves. She spat out the pins into a wobbling lobe of telekinesis. But honestly, where is one to find tall, elegant pony like that in Ponyville? Every pony here is either too short or too pudgy, too muscled or... Rainbow Dash is really elegant, Scootaloo interrupted. Rarity looked up so fast her eyes bulged. Sweetie Belle, you're home. She coughed delicately into one hoof. And you brought your friends. How lovely. Flea. Lyra tried to wave without moving position. Hi, Sweetie Belle. Hi, Sweetie Belle's friends. Hi there, Miss Heartstrings. Apple Bloom waved back with more energetically. You look mighty fine pretty in that rare romper suit. It's a cat suit, Rarity corrected primally. Romper suits are for newborn foals. Well, whatever it's called, I think it's mighty pretty. Thanks, Lyra said. I'd say it's pretty too, if I didn't have to wear it. The stain weighs a ton. Good quality stones tend towards the weighty side of the scale, said Rarity. One must make sacrifices for fashion. Yeah, like an intact spine, Lyra muttered. Scootaloo snickered. Sweetie Belle stepped in front of her to hide her from Rarity's imprecious gaze. It's brilliant, sis. That's your best design yet. Sapphire Shores will love it. Rarity eyed the catsuit critically. Her hair was disheveled, the way it had gotten when she was too busy working to realize that she had looked like she had been dragged through the hedge backwards. You really think so? Despite the pride and tough exterior, Sweetie Belle knew that her sister remained insecure about her designs. As with all creative types, Rarity was her own worst critic and constantly saw flaws where others only saw perfection. She was never quite satisfied with that she created and saw such finished piece as a stepping stone of learning curve she had been on for years and would continue to be on for many more. This constant striving for excellence and refusal to help settle less for what has made Rarity such a fashion dynamo, and what also threatened to wreck it all for her as if she let it. Sweetie Belle trotted up and nuzzled against her sister. I know she'll love them. Doesn't she always? This is the third collection you've made so for her, isn't it? Yes, Rarity said spectacularly. It is. So she must think your work is so wonderful if she keeps coming back to you instead of those fancy designers for Canterlot and Manhattan. Thank you, sweetie. Rarity pressed a kiss on top of her head. Are you friends staying for dinner? Applebloom and Scootaloo shook their heads. Scootaloo looked even a little sick, and Rarity was a fabulous designer, but a menace in the kitchen. She was only the pony who needed to look up a recipe for ice cubes and had burnt soup so badly she had nearly set the stove ablaze. No, not tonight, Sweetie Belle replied. Rarity sighed. I suppose I'd better let you go too, Lyra, though you've made a surprisingly first-rate model. You barely moved at all. Lyra chuckled nervously. Zoned out for a while in the middle. It was like I wasn't even there. A trick I wish you could teach me and my other friends when they do this to me, Rarity sighed. Fluttershy is the best at it, Applejack's a fidgeter, and I only ever asked Rainbow Dash once. Never again. She crossed her eyes at the memory. Never, ever again. And as for Pinkie Pie, it was like trying to hold shut a bag of hyperactive ferrets. Sweetie Belle giggled. Lyra managed to chuckle as she peeled off the catsuit. It jingled like a pocket full of money as it slipped onto the hangar and joined with the other four on the rail. Oh, just one more outfit, Rarity said firmly. Twilight is coming over tomorrow to help me with the inventory. She has excellent posture, so... Rarity, can I talk to Sweetie Belle for a second? Lyra broke in. Rarity blinked. Oh yes, right, of course. By all means. She trotted away obstinately to the short spools of the thread into the drawers of ornate cabinet. Through her ears kept flickering in the direction. Well, I guess we'll see you tomorrow, Sweetie Belle, said Applebloom. Goodbye! Bye, sweetie. Scootaloo was already halfway down the path, heading for her scooter. Bye, guys! Sweetie Belle waved furiously, even though they were no longer looking. She was so glad getting a cutie mark from before had not dented their friendship. She had worried that without common goal they might drift apart again, yet her success had actually brought them closer together. Pushing her friendship with them from her mind for now, Sweetie Belle swallowed and took a steadying breath before turning to face Lyra. What did you want to talk to me about? I wanted to apologize, Lyra said quickly. She spoke as if she had lined up all her words, and her head was firing them off in a rapid succession before she had lost her nerve. For leaving you in Sugar Cube Corner yesterday. I was a heel, and I'm sorry. I had my reasons, but they weren't good ones. Definitely weren't good enough to get me off the hook of abandoning you without warning like that. You don't need to apologize to me, Sweetie Belle said just as quickly. In the case that there was another break in Lyra's durable to her speak. You were distracted. Rarity gets distracted and ignores me all the time, but I never take it personally, she shrugged, hoping that she communicated unconcerned forgiveness and not the glee that was actually bubbling inside her. An adult pony apologizing to her like equal? She has felt grown up as she had when she looked at her flank and seen something other than white. Lyra looked generally relieved. Ain't that the truth, so you're not mad at me? No. And you don't want to cancel your singing lessons? Definitely not, Sweetie Belle exclaimed. In fact, I've been practicing my scales, just like you do too. She cleared her throat. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Excellent, Lyra laughed. Pitch perfect as always. You've got a great pair of lungs on you, kiddo. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next Sapphire Shores and your sister will be the designing stage costumes for you someday. Sweetie flustered. Aw, I'd never be that good. Don't undersell yourself, darling, Rarity called from across the room. You have real talent. Rarity, this is a private conversation. Oops, sorry. Just pretend I'm not here. Actually, I do have to go home now, Lyra said. My legs are aching from all this standing around. All I want is to go to bed and sleep for a while. How does the hay does ver de las mare sort of work? I have a new respect for models, she pulled a face. Or I would if they started eating properly and stopped looking like underfed antelopes. Sweetie Belle giggled. Even Rarity had a titter-bitter behind each hoof. Bye, Lyra, thanks for coming to apologize. You didn't need to, but it was all nice and the same. Lyra smiled and trotted out of the boutique, leaving one befounded filly in her wake. My dearest Bonbon. Well, I did it. You were right. I feel so much better now. I guess most ponies would think that apologizing to a filly is less than half their age is ridiculous. But frankly, they can go all take off the walk by sheer pure. When I saw Sweetie Belle smile, I knew I'd done the right thing. I guess I really hurt her when I walked out like that. Her parents weren't exactly the most attentive in the world, since she spent so much time staying at her sister's. Maybe that's why they were so close. Maybe being neglected by one sort of part of the family makes a bond with another part stronger? What I'm writing that for? Sorry, love. You know it's a sore spot for you and there, and I go putting my big fat hoof in it. You and your Nonna are such close because of what had happened during your folks. I hope Sweetie Belle's mom and dad don't do like that like yours did, though I can't imagine they would. I met her dad once when he came to the music makers to get his pal's violin returned. He seemed to be a very nice guy, though, if a little too easily sidetracked. Her mom works in the cool cuts and the main dresses in town. Every pony says that she's a terrible gossip, but that doesn't mean a malicious bone in her body. You never know what's going on behind the closed doors, though, do you? Every pony thought your mom and dad were real family ponies, too. Still, there was a silver lining to that cloud. If they hadn't done what they did, you would have never came to Ponyville. And if you never came to Ponyville, we would have never met. And that would be just tragic. I forgot to go to the supermarket again today. I played the clothes horse for Rarity instead while I was waiting for Sweetie Belle to come home. Rarity's not actually all that bad. She's pretty insecure about her job and her business, which I guess I can understand. It's not easy making your way into the world when things seem to be stacked up against you. You should hear how she really talks to snooty Canterlot ponies that she keeps trying to sell her clothes to. She makes them sound like they have good gold hoof steps wherever they walk, but if you listen between the lines, they're actually a bunch of stuck-up nags. Fancy Pants and his filly friends sounded like the best of the bunch, but that's not saying enough. I got so mad on Rarity's behalf that I almost lost myself again for a while. Before you ask, no, I didn't go to the doctor today. I wanted to say sorry to Sweetie Belle, and afterwards, there wasn't time. I'll go tomorrow, though. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. All my love and a little bit more, Lyra. Darling Lyra, how can I help you worry when you're telling me when you're sick? This zoning out thing isn't normal, Lyra. You have to make sure to get some help. Do it for me, if not for yourself. Promise me that you'll go see a doctor ASAP, and no putting it off like you did about the dentist. Remember what happened that time? I would have thought a root canal was enough to teach any pony importance of not procrastinating. Don't feel bad about mentioning my parents. I said when I left Ponyville I had a good feeling about this trip. Didn't I? It's such a shame that it took Nonna having a stroke to bring me back here and force all of us to see each other again. But if we're all talking about silver linings, then this must be the one too. How can my parents and I be reconciled if we never see each other? I like to think they didn't just stop loving me when I told them I like mares instead of stallions. We were never what you call close, but they said they could see me while I was growing up. Nonna gave me all the hugs I could ever ask for. She took care of me when I was sick, read me stories, slipped the little treats into my lunch bag, and things like that, while my parents made sure I had a good education, and I could make something of myself someday. I doubt traveling halfway across the country and using my trust to find and buy a candy shop in a little Pondong town was so they had little mind. But that's not the point. Like Nana said when I left, you have to follow your heart, or it will never be allowed to grow the size it should be so you can beat properly. Maybe someday I'll get proved right and they'll show that they still love me after all. Maybe someday we'll all be one big happy family again, and you could come and meet them. I'd love for you to see Manhattan. You love the theater district. There are always lots of musicals, and the restaurants here beat my cookings to the ground. Because you made my heart grow and make it beat properly, love, I want you to know that every single day it goes on beating is because of you, because of how much I love you and how much you love me. All my love and a lot more. Your Bonbon. Noteworthy watched Rarity collected her little sister. Both were smiling. Lyra wrote the request for a 4th lesson in the big black appointment book, waved them goodbye, and then fell against the front desk, sighing happily. Good lesson? The best I could. Really get used to this whole teaching thing. Maybe I should jack in working here until go offer services to Miss Cheerly instead. Noteworthy smiled. It was good to hear Lyra laugh. He knew it was good. She was doing so well recently, as always, happy, and never letting things get to her. The fact that she never mentioned certain things didn't worry him too much. When he first came hometown from Canterlot with his tail between his legs, having failed to make a splash in its infinite jazz scene, he hated being talking about his experiences too. It had taken months for him to take what remained of his savings to invest in a small music store instead of the Canterlot Bristol. He had imagined the pipe dreams in his colthood. Things had worked out for the best in the end, though, and he liked to think they would be the same for Lyra. Suddenly Lyra stood up straight, her posture stiff. She was looking at the clock on the wall. Hey, Boss Pony, can I take my lunch break now? Sure, he waved her away. Go stuff your face. I resent that remark. She grabbed her saddlebags from her coat and from her peg, and dashing away before he could respond. She couldn't believe that she had forgotten. She had to make it on time. She had to. Stupid, 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 stupid. Lyra's hooves clattered along the icy street. She skidded around the corner to Akata Avenue. Her eyes found with a familiar shape in the distance. She went on so fast as if she had leaned up against a teleport to see in the last 10 minutes and was crossed in the distance with magic instead of muscles. Whoa! She cried out as she hit a particularly slick path of ice. Her left front hoof shot right where her right hoof was left shot, toppling her onto her nose. Her chin met frozen absolute as she traveled the last few feet onto her face. When she got up, her lips stung and her teeth ached from where they had clacked together. None of that mattered now, however. Did I make it on time? Oh my goodness! She ignored the voice, as the engraved pony was upright on top of the mailbox. That meant the mail had not yet been collected. If it was upside down, that would mean the next collection would not come till tomorrow. Lyra, you're bleeding! Her stomach sank. The pony was flying upside down, sagging in disappointment and self-recrimination. She hung her head and butted the mailbox. Snow flaked on top and landed between her ears. Are you okay? Did you break something? That was a nasty fall. Lyra? Lyra! Lyra looked up when someone touched her flank, just below where her winter coat ended. Oh, hi, Twilight. How is it shaking? Twilight Sparkle's brows pulled together. Lyra, you're bleeding from your mouth. I am? Lyra swallowed. She tasted the coppery tang of blood. Oh, I guess I am. I must have bitten my lip. She looked down. A thin smear of blood marked the peg progress of her face on the ground. You might have a concussion. You should see a doctor. Lyra immediately backed away. No, no doctors. Twilight looked at her vehemence. Okay, no doctor, but at least come into this library so I can check you over. I've read some books about medicine. I think it's certain whether or not you're concussed at least. For the first time, Lyra realized that the door to the Golden Oaks Library was swinging wide, as if some pony had burst through and not bothered to close behind her. A recognizable purple head had just kept peering around the edge, then ducking out of sight, as if the blast of the cold from outside actually hurt them. Well, he is cold-blooded, said the husky alto. Lyra? Twilight asked in obvious concern. Lyra sighed. Yes, I guess I can do that. Let me mail this letter first. Although, it didn't matter. It was ruined, and it would be a wrong way, and all wrong tomorrow. Her routine had been thrown out the whack, and because she had all been thinking about her tutoring session instead of remembering to call the past mailbox on her way to work. She had promised. They had promised, and now she had broken the promise. She had stared at the ground, mind thrumming. She stared so hard that the edges of her vision started to fringe black and waver like heat haze. Stupid, stupid, stupid. There's something not right with her. Standing on the step ladder, better to watch in a saucepan of soup, Spike shrugged. Well, that's obvious. No, I mean, more than usual. Twilight frowned. She had been shocked and horrified as every pony else has passed last month, but she had expected. What? She wasn't sure how ponies were meant to react to this kind of situation. She had read books of anticipation of the day she might have gone through herself, but there was so many conflicting theories that it was hard to narrow things down into a singular fluid model. The message Twilight had gleaned from her research was like that every pony was different, and it's illogical to assume one would act such as the same as the other. In hindsight, this was an embarrassing conclusion to reach. She should have worked that much out of her own, without the need of case studies or situations. Spike tasted the soup, and shook his head, and added another clawful of herbs. Twilight, it's none of our business. I thought friendship was about being there for others when they don't want it. Isn't that what motivated you to dedicate all that time into honoring your dragon code with Applejack? Spike's cheeks colored ever so slightly. Well, yeah, I guess so. But remember what happened when you guys meddled with that? Applejack nearly got eaten by a timberwolf. Twilight was forced to admit that meddling with the innocents had instead not have been the best course of action. Yet this time she felt sure that she was not supposed to just leave things alone. Something was wrong with Lyra's heartstrings. Twilight leaned back into looking in the sitting room. Lyra remained exactly where she had been, on the couch staring into space, a mug of sweetened tea clasped between her forehooves. As far as Twilight could tell, Lyra had not even sipped. Twilight had never been that close with Lyra as the others in Ponyville. She was yet a passing acquaintance, some pony could nod on the street, but not strike up an ideal conversation. Yet Twilight knew enough about Lyra to also note that this sort of behavior wasn't normal. She had cleaned up Lyra's cut lip using the library medical kit, confirmed that she had a concussion, and suggested that some lunch and company might make her feel a little better. Lyra had neither nodded nor shake her head. She uttered a single word, since Twilight had led her away from the mailbox. Twilight? Hey, Twilight! Spike called. Huh? He gestured. Can you pass me the bowls? Remember, we need 3, not 2 like usual. Twilight dutifully levitated the 3 deep bowls out of the china cabinets and held them for Spike to ladle the soup into. When he was done, she brought a tray to sit beneath the bowls, summoned 2 spoons from the cutlery drawer, and waited for Spike to descend the stepladder. Together, they re-entered the sitting room. Grubs up, Spike announced. Tomato and rosemary soup with wholemeal bread rolls. He sat down with the basket of bread that he had been carrying and backed off a few steps, watching Lyra's response. It was less than encouraging. Lyra slowly shriveled her head and looked blankly at the soup. Her eyes differed from side to side for a moment. Spike waved a claw in front of her face, but she only blinked, not following its progress from the left and right back again. Twilight and Spike retreated to the kitchen under the guise of fetching the bread. See what I mean? Twilight tried not to sound triumphant. One would never ever take such the smallest victory in some pony else's misfortune, even if it did prove you were right. Something's not right. Maybe we should call the doctor out there. Spike said uncertainly. No doctors! Yelped a voice from behind them. Lyra! Twilight caught Spike before he fell. She cradled the bread basket in her magic and looked around. You're back! Huh? Lyra looked back at her. More of her was behind the eyes than ever. The difference was startling. Back? I didn't go anywhere. She looked around. I'm in the library. Why am I in the library? I brought you inside after you fell over on the ice. Don't you remember? Lyra gingerly touched her lip and she squinted, as if trying to access a long-forgotten memory. Oh, yeah, I remember, she said unconvincingly. Lyra. Twilight stepped towards her, keeping her tone low and coaxing. She She didn't understand what was wrong with the other unicorn, but she did gasp that the spooking of her was not a good idea. I think there might be something wrong with you. You're not acting like yourself. Lyra shook her head as if to clear it. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I just need to get back to work. Boss Pony will be wondering where I am. What time is it? Did I go over my allotted hour? Lyra, I need to go. Lyra stumbled to the door. Both Twilight and Spike flinched at the blast cold air that whistled inside when Lyra wrenched the door wide. She only managed to rustle at the top half open. Lyra, wait! Lyra's movements were jerky and frantic. When struggling with the bottom half did not open, she backed it up a few steps and jumped over. Her left hind hoof caught the edge, throwing her off balance. She struck the floor outside heavily, yet by the time they reached the door, she was already cantering away. Twilight turned to Spike. You can't tell me that's ignorable behavior. Spike bit his lip. I guess not. My dearest Bonbon, I ruined it. 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 Lyra. Darling Lyra. Ruined what? Love from Bonbon. My dearest Bonbon. This, you, us, everything. I can't keep doing this. I need you here. I'm scared, Bonbon. I'm really scared. Why are you here instead of here with me? Lyra. Twilight cantered along the icy street, fixated on the store with the swinging saxophone outside front. The large blue stallion at the front of the desk looked up in surprise when she burst in, breathing hard with a half-frozen baby dragon clinging onto her back. Where's Lyra? Lyra? His ears flicked forward. Oh, on her lunch break. If you wait for her, you're welcome to. Is something wrong? I'll say. Spike extracted his claws from where he had wrapped them in Twilight's mane to keep them from falling off. And the wrong is with her, huh? Something's wrong with Lyra, said a tremendous voice. Twilight whirled to find Sweetie Belle and Rarity less than a foot away. We left Sweetie Belle's scarf behind after her lesson, said Rarity. We were just coming back to fetch for it. Is something wrong with Lyra? Sweetie Belle crossed the distance between them and placed her forehooves on Twilight's chest. Twilight? I'm not sure, Twilight admitted, not wanting to alarm the young filly, but we should find her just in case. She took a bump to the head earlier, and started acting weirdly, really weird, Spike finished. The blue stallion came out from behind the desk. She got hurt? Then we definitely need to find her. Minute! She called out a volume that made everyone else present to cover their ears. His ears flattened on their reaction. Sorry. Noteworthy? Minute appeared in the doorway behind the desk. She blinked at an array of ponies clogging the front of the store. Oh, is everything alright? Not really. We need to look for Lyra. Mind the store for me until we come back. Lyra, if his ears flattened. Minutes tried to reach her brain by forcing themselves right through her skull. What's happening to her? Nothing but a bump on the head, he reassured. This is a lot of ponies for just a bump in the head. Come on! Sweetie Belle dashed down the street, doubled back and dashed forward again, jiggling from foot to foot. If Lyra's hurt, we got to find her. Noteworthy, wait! Minutes caught his tail in her hoof and touched him backwards. Twilight slowed to listen to what they were saying. These two ponies probably knew Lyra better than any of them. She worked with them every day after all. They had seen her over the whole last month. They would know what Twilight thought was this odd behavior was actually out of the ordinary or not. What is it, Minnie? Minutes chewed her lip for a moment before speaking. Do you think she might hurt herself? It took a second for Noteworthy to answer. No. I'm sure that's not a possibility. She's just a bump on the head, that's all. She hasn't been herself lately. You know it and I know it. All those names, she just not there when we talk to her. And these mood swings. Noteworthy, she hasn't been right since. Minute trailed off. I know, Minnie, Noteworthy said softly. I'm just hoping it would go away on its own, so I ignored it. That was stupid of me, he snorted. I'm supposed to be her friend, not just her boss. I should have had her talk to her about it or something. I don't know. More than just accepted at face value when she said she was fine and wanted to come back to work. I should have sat her down and talked to her first, but just shoved the students right at her as a distraction, for neither of us would have to talk about it. Now I've got to fix it. I have to help her and get this sorted once and for all, Minnie. Minute released him and stepped away. Check their house, she said. Rough voice as sandpaper. Maybe she went home. Bonbon. I need to see you. I can't stay here. I'm coming to you. I'm coming right now. By the time you get this letter, I may even already be with you. Then we can laugh about how stupid I am and everything can go back to normal. I need you, love. I need you now. Lyra. Lyra? Lyra, you're there? Sweetie Belle pressed her hooves against the windowsill, trying to peer through the frosty glass. I don't see any pony. It's dark in here. I think the curtains are drawn. Noteworthy rattled the door. It's locked. Maybe we were wrong and she isn't there. Why does she keep a key under the welcome mat? Rarity suggested. We should check inside just in case. We can't just break into her house, Spike exclaimed. That's like a crime. We're not planning to steal anything, Spike, said Twilight. We're just worried about her. The authorities will understand. Subsection B in Volume 12 of Equestrian Mandate has rights to say that one may enter the building without permission if there's a reasonable belief that the pony or ponies may have caused themselves bodily harm or be at risk of causing themselves bodily harm. What? Sweetie Belle's hooves slivered off the seal. We're not saying Lyra has done such a thing, darling, Rarity assured. We're simply just taking precautions. Did anyone check under the mat? Nothing. Noteworthy let the flip back into place. He turned around, braced his forelegs, and bucked out with his powerful hindquarters. The door flew inward, cracking a little. Oops, I'll buy her a new front door. You should talk to Applejack, said Spike. She could use your apple bucking season. Lyra? Lyra, you're in there? Sweetie Belle slipped beneath Noteworthy's massive frame to sprint inside. Sweetie Belle, no! Rarity yelped. Oh my goodness, if Lyra has really done something awful and Sweetie Belle sees it, Sweetie Belle, come back! She dashed after her sister without a second thought. Noteworthy was right behind her. Come on! Twilight waited for Spike to climb aboard and they went in too. The house smelled musty and stale, as if the windows had not been opened in a long while. All the lights were off, which made it difficult to see, even with the silvers of light peeping through the edges of the curtains. Twilight slowed her pace. She stepped down and discarded food cans and microwaved the metal containers in the dimness. Her left forehoof caught the edge of something that tumbled over with a loud crash. She ignited her horn, but before she could inspect what was, she heard Rarity calling, Twilight, I think you better come in here. Fearing the worst, Twilight followed Rarity's voice to the bottom of the staircase. With every step she climbed, a sense of dread coalesced in her stomach. Her ears pricked for clues of what awaited her at the top. She crested the top step. The sound of Sweetie Belle's whimpers wrenched her. Her stomach dropped into her hooves like a crumbling stone. In here, darling, Rarity called, her tone strained. They were in the bedroom. The curtains had been pulled back to reveal flowery muff and tasteful wooden furniture. The effect was spoiled with a bunch of dead roses in the vase on the dresser. Winter clothing was strewn across the bed, chair, and floor, along with many pieces of balled-up paper and envelopes. They were scattered across the floor as if they'd been tossed there by some pony's shoulder. A dresser drawer hung nearly completely off its runners. More paper and envelopes lay inside it. These, a blank unused and a quill and an overturned flail sat in the middle of the dresser, amidst to the pool of spreading ink. The ink was still fresh, as is a series of dark blue hoof prints left whoever had knocked it over themselves. Whoever it was had not been long. Rarity turned to Twilight. One of the scattered papers hovered over before her. It's a letter from Bonbon, she whispered. They're all letters to or from Bonbon. Twilight's chest constricted. She felt like she was committing the worst invasion of privacy. Immediately, she wanted to run downstairs, out of this house and back to her own. Something in the way Rarity announced this, however, made her pause and set her hooves. There's something else, Twilight said softly. Isn't there? Rarity lifted the letter directly under Twilight's nose. Look! Twilight's speed read the first few sentences, murmuring out loud, Darling Lyra, since when do you assign letters to me with your full name? I'm doing so well as every pony else. Relations with my mother and father are still strained, but I expected that. Not all bridges were rebuilt quickly, or so especially soundly. No, Rarity said. She shook her letter. The date? Twilight lifted her gaze to Rarity's. But this was just dated last week. They're all dated within the past month. I haven't read them all, obviously, but we have to check them to tell so much. Also look at the writing. She gathered up several more sheets and brought them to Twilight for inspection. It matches on everyone. Well, it would if they all came from the same pony, Spike started. No, I mean the same writing on all letters. Those to Lyra and from her as well. Realization started to dawn. I knew it, said Twilight. I knew something wasn't right. Oh my gosh! Sweetie Belle's cries surprised all of them. She had slipped into the room without them noticing, and now stood next to the dresser, the ink-stained piece of paper clutched in her hooves. She held up a fresh new lines unwritten there. Some have obscured with the spilt ink, but not enough visible for them to produce a collective gasp that brought Noteworthy running to the next room. Bonbon, I need to see you. I can't stay here. I'm coming to you. I'm coming right now. Rainbow Dash, will you quit lollygagging and help me with this? Rainbow Dash snapped her head back to Applejack in surprise. Huh? Applejack sighed. She pointed at the sack of apples to the cart. Sack, you, help. Whatever happened to me resting? Resting your wing, Applejack corrected. Ain't nothing wrong with the rest of you. Otherwise you would have never have given Apple Bloom this slip this morning and gone cavorting in the South Orchard. Cavorting? Rainbow Dash attempted Applejack's accent, trying to decode the word. Yep, cavorting, frockin', capperin', gambolin' like a newborn lamb that just gave Mama Sheep the slip. Oh hey, I was not cavorting. I was practicing my takeoff run. I'm out of practice after a week on the ground. Applejack rolled her eyes. Whatever, point is, you're so full of energy and you could put it to good use by helping me make deliveries. Now come on, or Sugar Cube Corner will be serving baked apple flans that only get 2 words out of the name in them. When Rainbow Dash didn't immediately jump to attention, she let out a sharp sigh and came to stand next to her. Absently, she tugged down on the vest Rainbow Dash had borrowed so that it was covered in her friend's wing properly. What in the hay has you so fascinated with your gawping like a beached fish? Rainbow Dash either didn't take notice of the ear-arranging of her vest or choose to ignore it. I swear I just saw some pony in the past of the end of the street. It's freezing out there, but I don't think she was even wearing a scarf. It takes all sorts. Applejack turned back to the cafe. At the counter, Pinkie Pie had spotted them. She couldn't turn outside because of the long line of ponies shaking off their winter chills with good food and their special brand of good cheer. Instead, Mr. Cake flipped back the countertop and came to the door, opening it with a cheery jingle. Could you girls be obliging and bringing those black? He asked. Bits of his mane were working free from under his cap, and he looked harried at the overabundance of customers. Sure thing, Mr. Cake. Applejack tipped her hat as if made to reattach itself to the cart traces. Wonderful. He disappeared back into the handle of the coffee maker before Pinkie Pie could have a hoof at it. After a practically disastrous incident when they first bought the thing, during which Pinkie had decided she needed to try every condition that the machine could come up with to order to best recommend them to customers, she was not allowed to work it anymore. Halfly caffeinated Party Pony was only fun from a distance while wearing proper safety gear. You heard the guy, Rainbow. Rainbow? Rainbow! Instead of responding, Rainbow Dash called, Hey, Twilight! Twilight? Applejack echoed in surprise. Sure enough, there was Twilight running towards them, Spike attached to her back like a barnacle on a ship. Neck and neck with her is a gigantic blue stallion. Applejack recognized the face but couldn't name him. All of them looked worried. Have you seen Lyra? The stallion snorted and skittered to a halt. Lyra? Applejack blinked. You mean Lyra Heartstrings? Not recently, why? Yeah, Rainbow Dash interrupted. She went by here just a few minutes ago. I thought it was pretty weird how she wasn't wearing a coat or a scarf or anything. She was running really, really fast. It was actually pretty impressive. Which way did she go? The big stallion stepped anxiously towards her. Quickly, which way did she go? Hey, back off, buddy. Rainbow Dash squared the chest at him. Noteworthy, that's not helping. Twilight snapped. The hairs along Applejack's spine began to rise. Twilight sounded panicked, not just the usual way, but there was actual fear in his voice and the way Spike was looking around, as if some pony who had been following them. Will some pony tell us when the hoo-ha is going on here? Applejack instinctively stepped between Rainbow Dash and the big stallion. She didn't think they would actually resort to hoof cuffs, but Rainbow Dash, you could never be sure. Twilight bit her lip and explained. Ponyville Station was usually a hub of activity, the main transport of far-long flungs of parts of Equestria and beyond. Trains ran regularly and boasted that they were rarely ever late. The platform, as usual, acted as a stage for ponies to act out heartfelt farewells and equally heartfelt welcomes. Reunited families sprinted into each other's embraces. Friends stuck out their heads out in the train windows to wave. Hooves were shaken. Bags were loaded, seats were found, and the whistle pierced in the air, and the colossal stallions who pulled the train took a first laborious steps. Starting and stopping were always the hardest parts of their journey, but once they got going, they were relentless in their ability to get the cargo where it needed to go, no matter what. Even so, as the whistle sounded, they both put their best hooves forward. They couldn't help but look at each other and offer nods of encouragement. It was a new ritual, but one they had quickly taken hold. Locomotive workers, though were tough, relentless ponies, but even they could be shaken and seek refuge in luck and the kind of reassurance not even Princess Celestia could give. You couldn't see the station from here. Lyra was glad for that. She slowed from the gallop to a canter and finally trot. Her legs hurt and she was out of shape. Her muscles trembled when she finally stopped in the middle of the bridge. She narrowed her eyes, trying to count the windows on the distant train carriage. She had mesmerized on how many it was from the back as it swept past her on the platform, but from front, it was 6 or 8 windows from the engine. She wished the pony sitting beside it would open and give her a clue. The word blurred in her edges. She was running along the platform, slowing to a halt again before she would have careened off the end. She raised herself onto her hind legs where she could wave, using both forelegs like a pair of frantic windmills. "I'll be back soon," shouted Bonbon, waving just as furiously as her window. "Don't mess up the house while I'm gone, and don't eat just takeout. And remember to write to me, and..." Her words were lost in the hiss of steam and whistle of the train. Lyra blinked herself back, pushing aside the blackness fringing her vision. No, she couldn't have zoned out now. "Focus, Lyra, focus!" The whistle was real and growing louder. She could even hear the thunderous hoofsteps of the locomotive ponies. Flustered that she could be so stupid at her crucial moment, she tried to count the windows but had to give up. The train was moving so fast and quickly that the angle was so wrong for her to see from there. She pulled herself onto the side of the bridge, flicked her tail of her balance and jumped. The world blurred into startled faces, rushing metal and smears of color that refused to resolve into anything except. Her mouth was full of smoke and ash. She was outside falling into it. No, she was inside, thudding the side to side as the carriage rolled. She hit the window, watched dozedly as the countryside seemed to upend itself and become a slot machine rotation in the sky and tracks in sky and grass, and then came a hideous squeal of twisting metal, the sickening lurch of realization. Her legs flooded empty air as the gravity rejected her, and for a moment she hung suspended. Everything except her whirled into a wind of color and sound. Screams, metallic squeal, the jagged gleam of broken glass, heat, light, and noise and motion, and then something popped and sizzled beside Lyra. Hooves grasped a hold of her, clutching indelicately at her mane and chest. The world blurred again. This time it was accompanied by another fur pop and sizzle. Instead of her returning to herself at the dresser with a quill in her hoof, Lyra landed on a patch of grass and snow with a heavy thump. "Twilight!" shouted then someone. There was a way on top of her. She opened her eyes for a brief second, and all she saw was the rumpled silhouette of a pony with hair muscle that she was unrecognizable. "Bonbon?" she croaked. The pony shook his head and flicked snow off its wings. "Lyra, it's me," painted a voice that was not the one she wanted. Twilight sparkled. Huh?" Lyra tried to roll away. Where was she? She could still hear the train shrieking. She spotted carriages zipping past her, and under the bridge where she had only been seconds ago. Twilight had teleported her mere feet away from the blanket beside the track. It felt like 100 miles. It might have been for all it might have been. Bon! Lyra reached out so she could stop the train with her telekinesis. Her hooves scrambled and slipping into the snow. Twilight pulled her back and held her tight. She's not here, Lyra, she whispered. Her voice thick with either emotion or exhaustion from teleporting twice in less than a minute. In one of those carrying another pony. No, Lyra shook her head again. A thought sodded into place as a band-aid like over ugly wound on her mind. She's in Manhattan with her grandmother. No, Lyra, she's not. You have to remember. I do remember, Lyra yelled, trying to buck her off. Difficult when she sprawled down on her belly, with Twilight weight on top of her. Her grandmother had a stroke. Bonbon went to Manhattan to take care of her. Lyra, please, Twilight begged. You have to stop this. Let go of me, Lyra struggled, turning her head wildly and trying to bite at every pony on her back. Let go, let go, let go, let go, her horn growled. Twilight yelped in pain as she was dragged away by her tail. Lyra tried to get up, but found her way buried into the two orange hooves that planted themselves in front of her nose. Whoa there, Missy. There ain't no call for that. Be careful, Applejack, said the owner of the pale blue hooves that stopped next to her. She's acting whacked. Rainbow, don't say stuff like that. Like the time like this. Well, she is. She tried to jump off a bridge in front of a moving train. If that's not whacked, I don't know what is. Lyra stared up at the pair of them, nothing on how each one vied into the place herself and criminally ahead of the other, as if protecting each other. From me? From you, said the husky alto, only she could hear anymore. They were close, so close, in an instant that she hated them for it. She jumped and turned and lashed out with a savage kick. Why should they have when she couldn't? It was hers, not theirs. Hers and sweet Celestia. Look out! Rainbow Dash tackled Applejack to the ground. They landed in a jumbled heap, punctured by a yelp of pain from Rainbow Dash when she rolled onto her injured leg. Lyra turned again and rose onto her hind legs as though trying to bring the both four hooves down to them. That's enough, Lyra, boomed a voice. She faltered and fell back. Boss pony? Noteworthy advanced slowly, clambering up to one side of the embankment from the road below. He was staring at her with the expression he couldn't possibly identify, but she knew she didn't like it. She shrank away from him, from Applejack, from Rainbow Dash, and especially from Twilight. She didn't understand this. Her head hurt and her mind couldn't make the connections between everything that was going on. Her thoughts skittered away, twisted up in visions of twisted metal. Broken glass and spiral of smoke viewed a station platform. Leave me alone, she whimpered. All of you, just leave me alone. We can't do that, said Noteworthy. We already did that already, and it wasn't the right thing to do then either. What are you? Why can't you just... She scrunched up her eyes and kicked out of nothing, bucking in place for several irrational seconds. Leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. I don't need any of you. I don't want any of you. I just want... Lyra? A hesitant voice said her name, cut through the rage like lemon juice and milk. Lyra's eyes snapped open when she came to a trembling stop. Huh? So, Sweetie Belle? What are you... Is this time for another lesson already? Sweetie Belle crept towards her, cautious but resolute. Behind her, Rarity watched in eye-wide alarm, turning her head but not wavering a gaze when Spike landing on her back, murmuring something in her ear. Lyra stared at the filly. Pieces of a jigsaw strove to fit together in her head, but it was like trying to finish without a picture on the box reference. She had too many difficult, oddly shaped pieces bundling around there, but there was no coherent way of putting them back together, so that every single piece got used. Instead, he did what she had been doing for a while, and she picked out the pieces she liked best, shoving them and leaving them out the rest. Lyra, Sweetie Belle repeated. Why did you try to hurt yourself? I wasn't trying to, Lyra struggled. I was going to see Bonbon. She's in Manhattan with her grandmother. Sweetie Belle bit her lip. She took another step towards Lyra. Bonbon's grandmother died last month. She had a stroke and Bonbon went to see her a few days before she died. Lyra shook her head. Sweetie Belle sounded like she hated the saying the word died, but it was saying anyhow, and it was like nothing wrong for her for having to do that. This was all wrong. Like a swelling tide of dark water, more wrongness headed towards Lyra, all ready to crash her over and struck her into another zoned out. She went to Manhattan, Lyra whimpered. I wanted to go with her, but her family, she didn't want to stress out her grandmother by arriving with me, causing a big argument. Her parents, they threw her. She's in Manhattan. I know she is. I've been getting letters. Sweetie Belle's eyes filled with tears. There was an accident, Lyra. The train... No! Lyra sank to the ground, covering her head with her hooves. No! You went to her funeral. Sweetie Belle choked the words. We all did. Practically the whole town. Her parents came and you argued with them at the cemetery. Don't you remember? The word blurred at the edges. Lyra fought, but the force of reality was inexorable as gravity pulling her wingless body down. She should have been buried in her home in Manhattan with her family, snapped the mare in the black dress and veil. She had pressed a hanky to her face, but it was dry as the bottom of the hoof of the desert. She is home. Lyra poured out every ounce of her grief and anger in the statement. This was the first time she had ever met these two ponies and already hated them. This was a bolt hole, nothing more, said the stallion. She ran here after we argued. If her grandmother hadn't seen that wrenched advertisement that we watched at the candy store, she would have stayed at home and come to her senses. Instead, she met you. We were happy together. You were both dwindling yourselves. Bonbon's mother looked so much like her, but it was scary. Her voice, however, was nothing like Bonbon's husky alto. After 6 years in Ponyville, Bonbon's Manhattan drawl had softened, just like she had softened from the edgy, intense mare who had just landed their podunk little town. Her mother's accent was sharp as a hacksaw, and that was just cutting. She would have realized that eventually. You could have never made her happy. What you always had was escapism. Wrong. We love each other. Lyra closed her eyes, consciously correcting herself. If it still hurts every time she had to. We loved each other. If she had never met you, she would have come to her senses and come home sooner, said her father. Instead, she was on that train when it crashed. She'd never have been there if you hadn't kept her in Ponyville all this time. It's your fault that she's dead, her mother spat. Even though she knew this was nonsense, Lyra faltered. No, it's not. It is. If she had been in Manhattan instead of Ponyville when her grandmother was took sick, she would have been alive today. Bonbon's mother pressed a hanky to her face again, the grief still translating itself into a desire to hurt some pony else. I've lost my daughter and my mother in the same week, and I will never forgive you for that, or for keeping me from Bonbon from burying her against your wishes. You stole her from us. It's she... Lyra drew a breath. Get out. Take your spite and leave right now, or I will throw you out. Her mother opened her mouth to reply. A word blurred the edges of pain, and Lyra fell back in her own head. Someone was nuzzling her, and crying with her. Someone was nuzzling and crying as she was crying too, and... Bonbon was waving from the train carriage, a spiral of distant smoke. A male pony she didn't recognize knocking at the door with officially stamped her letter. A closed coffin, staggering from the cemetery as the word blurred out for the first time. Returning to herself at the post box with no recollection of what had happened between them. Getting a letter, reading the letter, crying over the letter, replying to the letter, addressing the letter to her own house. The band-aid tore away, revealing an ugly wound beneath it. Lyra sobbed, deep whacking sobs that came up from the deepest place inside her, where they had been hiding since the day of the cemetery. Beside her, tears trickled down Sweetie Belle's cheeks as they continued to nuzzle and provide comfort for the way she knew how. She met her sister's gaze. Rarity nodded through her own tear-filled eyes. Bonbon, Lyra wept. Bonbon, Bonbon. Pink blossom dotted these trees and drifted hazily to the ground. It didn't take much to knock the blossoms free of their branches. As a pair of bluebirds is teaching their chicks how to fly on a flurry petals with each tiny wing beat. Brief garlands of pink, and the cemetery looked almost pretty. It helped so many headstones. that it had branches and spring flowers laid before them. Ponies visited more frequently in the warm weather. The neatly tended graves attested to the increased attention. A pair of ponies walked slowly down the gravel path. They didn't speak as they went. When they had nearly reached their destination, the smaller one stopped and hung back while the taller carried on in a spot beneath the one blossom-laden tree. The sound of throat being cleared was inordinately loud in the heavy silence. "Hey, Bonnie?" Lyra was shocked at the scratchiness of her own voice. She cleared her throat again. I'm sorry, it's been a while. I've been very away. I kind of had to leave Ponyville for a while." Sighing, Lyra plopped her hindquarters down and addressed the shiny headstone. The name and dates on it were engraved for gold and stood out against the black marble. "I had to go stay at a special hospital. I was sick, Bonnie. After you died, I got real sick. Only I didn't notice." She shook her head. "No, that's a lie. I noticed. I just didn't care. While I was sick, I actually felt better. Or I thought I did. Does that make sense?" In the branches of the tree, the bluebirds twirled. "I wasn't looking after myself, Bonnie. You would have yelled at me so hard. I didn't see the point without you. So I pretended, and I convinced myself that all my pretending was real." Lyra's chin dropped as her chest, "But it wasn't real because you're gone. No amount of pretending can change that." She let out a breath so forceful that she could have cleared the sky faster than the best weather team. "I miss you, Bonbon. I miss you every day. I miss you so much that it hurts. Like it physically hurts. I wake up in the morning and I want to throw up and go back to pretending, but I know that it's the wrong way to deal with this, with not having you in my life anymore. I can't lie to myself. I mustn't." The marble was cool and smooth under her hoof when she touched it. By contrast, the tears had slithered down her cheeks were warm, and they left her fur damp with her voice trembling. Yet she kept her composure to carry on speaking. "I love you, Bonbon. I always will love you. Every single second and every single day of the rest of my life, I will love you. But I can't live in the past. I shouldn't live in the past. I need to point myself at the future and go in that direction now." The marble was just as cool against her lips as against her hoof. "Goodbye, love," Lyra whispered. She got to her hooves and headed for the tiny white filly waiting for her. As she walked back amongst the gravestones, a tuneful hum filled the air. Lyra's voice rose and fell as it weaved through complicated notes, as she had recently taught her first lesson in a long time. Sweetie Belle's voice joined hers after a moment. Their harmony made even the bluebirds pause to listen. At the gate, the white mare and the blue stallion waited patiently. On the grave beneath the tree was a wedding ring glittered. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.